Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the INGenIOuS panel on recruitment and retention. INGenIOuS is a project designed to develop the math and stat workforce so that we can have a more empowered and next generation of statisticians and mathematicians. It's supported by the MAA, the ASA, SIAM, AMS, and IMS, and made possible by a grant from the National Science Foundation. You can find more information on ingeniusmathstat.org. That's ingeniusmathstat.org. With no further ado, I'd like to turn it over today to our sixth panel and turn it over to Judy Walker.
Hello and welcome to our online panel on recruitment and retention. I'm Judy Walker, professor and chair of the Department of Mathematics at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. My colleague Bill Velez and I have organized this panel to address what can be done to make mathematical and statistical sciences a vibrant choice for a broad segment of the population, including the issue of broadening participation of women and minorities. Bill is a distinguished university professor of mathematics at the University of Arizona, where he serves as associate head for undergraduate affairs and director of the Math Center. We're pleased to be here along with our distinguished colleagues who have agreed to join us today as panelists. The panelists are Jill Dietz, professor and chair of the Department of Mathematics, Statistics, and Computer Science at St. Olaf College; Trishette Jackson, professor of mathematics at the University of Michigan; and Javier Rojo, professor of statistics at Rice University. In addition, Bob Meganson, professor of mathematics at the University of Michigan, has agreed to provide some remarks for us even though he could not be here. I will read his remarks a bit later. I'd like to ask Jill Dietz to start us off with a discussion of recruiting and retaining undergraduate students to major in the mathematical sciences.
Thanks, Judy. I want to try to touch on three things in the few minutes that I have: recruitment, retention, and what comes next for students after they graduate, and certainly concentrating on undergraduates. First, let me say a little bit about St. Olaf. It's a school of about 3,000, mostly white students. It has a good academic profile, but it's definitely a regional institution, not a national institution. And mathematics is one of the most popular majors at the college. As an example, in 2014, we will graduate 90 math majors, which is about 15% of the graduating class. So it's a big program, there's a lot of students, and when they leave St. Olaf, they're doing everything that you can imagine. They're going to every possible graduate school, getting every possible different kind of job, and so we're teaching a broad range of students. And how do we do it? How do we get so many students interested in mathematics? I think the most important thing is that the department has an ethos that welcomes all students into mathematics, statistics, and computer science, not just the students who are really good at it, and not even just the students who are super interested in math and stats. And this big tent philosophy sounds simple, but it really guides absolutely everything, every decision that we make, from the most mundane to the most important. And one of the most important things that we do is we actively recruit students into math courses. And our philosophy is to do this one course at a time. We're not trying to recruit students into the major per se, but to get them to take another math course, something that will help them do what they want to do. By the end, students will either major in mathematics, or at the very least they'll just have good training for whatever it is that comes next for them. And how do we get them into the next math course? We tell them to take the next math course. It's almost as simple as that. You know, our students are young. They're 18 to 22 years old. They're impressionable. They still respond well to authority, and when a faculty member says, hey, you did pretty well in Calc 2, why don't you think about taking linear algebra, they respond really well to that. And I think this is especially important for women and minority students who often doubt their abilities. So again, when a professor says, I think you did a good job, why don't you take the next course, they really respond well to that. The other thing that we do is we spend a lot of time telling students that we offer courses that will help them understand the mathematics behind what they're studying in their other disciplines, in biology and chemistry and economics and so on. And that the more math and stats and computer science they learn, the more they distinguish themselves from the thousands of other biology students, for example, that graduate every year. And this is clearly an effective strategy for us, since about 2/3 of our majors end up having a second major in some other discipline. In terms of retaining the students, well, for both recruiting and retaining, certainly excellent teaching is an important tool for this. We put a lot of emphasis onto good teaching, good experiences. We have many student-focused events throughout the year, and we will counsel students as individuals. We have a very flexible major. Students can navigate it in many different ways, and we have individual conversations with them about this. And this is the kind of thing that we can do at a small liberal arts college. I can't imagine such a thing going on at a big university, but small colleges, absolutely. And let me quickly say something about advising students post-graduation, because again, it runs the gamut. We're not just training students to go on to mathematics graduate school or statistics graduate school. They're doing everything. And because we have such a big program, and because students are doing absolutely everything, we can just point to the list. Here's what it is that our students are doing. This is where they've gone. These are the kind of graduate programs they've entered. This is the kind of jobs they've gone to. This is where they've gone to Peace Corps. And it quickly dispels any myth that, that the only options for students are teaching or actuarial work or something like that. Very fine professions, but not the only ones out there. And then, to be honest, you know, we're in a liberal arts setting where the whole atmosphere promotes the notion that you can do anything with a liberal arts major in general. So we get the word out pretty well to students that they have a lot of options, and that math and stats and computer science will help them. So I'll stop there and let others have a say.
Okay, I think I'm next, and I want to first of all say that the things that Jill has just mentioned are exactly my own sentiments. But I teach at the other end of the spectrum. So I teach at the University of Arizona. We have 40,000 students. We ended the year with 635 math majors, and we're graduating about 125 this academic year. A third of them have another major. And to me, this represents the real growth area for mathematics majors. That is linking mathematical studies to other sciences. And when students graduate with strong minors or a major in another area, they're much more competitive. Now, I think the nation faces a tremendous problem in promoting the math major. In fact, one of the comments that was submitted on the questionnaire mentioned the marketing of mathematics, that the whole nation has to do a better job of promoting the study of mathematics and, of course, the option of majoring in mathematics. One problem that we see a great deal here is that students coming to the university, even those that have had AP calculus courses in high school, know nothing about what it is to be a mathematics major. And as Jill pointed out, their perception is, and I'm talking about high school students and high school teachers, is that the only thing that you can do with a degree in mathematics is teach mathematics in high school. Of course, we need more teachers, but there are a broad array of jobs that are available, and I was so pleased to see Jill make those comments about the positions that the students from St. Olaf are taking. So the situation that we have is that incoming students don't understand the importance of studying mathematics, And I very much again agree with Jill that what we want to do is we want to get students into our mathematics classrooms. Now, when you look at the questionnaire, many of the comments said that we should be emphasizing applications in our courses. We should be creating courses at the freshman, sophomore level that somehow celebrate the uses of mathematics. And it is that that's going to attract students into the major. I personally feel that the most effective tool that we have as teachers of mathematics is the mathematics that we teach. But we have to teach it enthusiastically, and we have to teach it with an eye to the future. That is, in a mathematics class, you suggest to students what the next courses would be to follow up on the ideas that you're currently teaching. Now, the perception again that careers for math majors are very limited, as I mentioned, high school teachers are not aware of these many jobs, but the situation is just as bad at universities. University professors have not the slightest idea what it is that an undergraduate would do with an undergraduate degree in mathematics. And I think what we have to do is we have to develop some kind of professional development program for university faculty to inform them of the many opportunities that are available for a student who majors in mathematics. Now again, as Jill pointed out, building a sense of community in a department does a great deal. A year ago, we created a video of 4 amazing math majors, and we just posed a set of questions to them. And I was surprised that each such student mentioned the word community. So we created a video called A Community of Mathematicians, which I will send to this questionnaire so that I'll provide a link to this video. And I think I will stop there.
Thanks, Phil. I think Javier was going to talk next a bit about REUs.
Okay. I'm here.
You're on, Javier.
Yeah, but I don't. Okay, so you're watching me. You see me because I don't see myself. But okay, okay. Here I go. All right. Well, I think that REUs play a very important role. The way I see the REUs really is as a mechanism to encourage undergraduate students to pursue graduate careers in the mathematical sciences, and by that I mean mathematics and statistics. The goals of the REU, of course, and the mechanisms by which one entices students to pursue graduate work can be different. My own experience, what I do is this is a site program where I bring in 12, 13 students per summer, and I'm pretty much the faculty who runs the program with the help of 2 graduate students. There are other types of REUs, for example, where students come in and they get assigned to different various faculty in the department, and so students come in and to support ongoing research projects. Either approach has advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage that I see with students being placed in ongoing research projects is that the student does not get the full experience in the sense that they come in on, they don't come in at the beginning of the project, and then when they leave at the end of the summer, they don't leave after the project has been finished. So they don't enjoy the pleasure of seeing the project completed. They were part of it, and eventually the project will be completed, but they don't have that experience of seeing the end product before they leave for the summer. So what I try to do is I try to design projects that I know will take the students 6 to 7 weeks to complete. I think it's very important for the students and for myself that the students, before they leave at the end of the summer, they feel that they have accomplished something. I don't want them to leave the program feeling that their time was spent and they didn't get anywhere. Of course, this creates some dilemma for the faculty in the sense that the projects have to be thought about very, very carefully before engaging the students in these projects, because you want them, as I said, you want to to give them the experience of doing research, which sometimes includes frustration trying to find the right ideas of the right approaches to solve the problems, but then at the same time that you know that you only have about 6 or 7 weeks. So one of the questions I think that Bill Velez posed to me regarding REUs, or one of the comments was that there may be a perception out there that undergraduates cannot do research. And so the question is that true? And my answer is yes and no. It is, of course, an undergraduate cannot perform at the same level as a PhD student. And so if what we're looking for is a PhD dissertation that an undergraduate can do in 6 to 7 weeks, of course, we're not going to get that. But certainly there are research projects that if you think through carefully, students will be enticed, will be energized by these projects and decide to continue to graduate school. As a hard number, for example, the alumni from RUSI's, that's my summer program here, between 90 and 95% of those that have attended and have graduated from college are currently in PhD programs in mathematics and statistics. And that's very interesting because when they get here, I ask them how many of them have thought about going to graduate school, and maybe 1 or 2 hands come up. At the end of the summer, I ask again, and invariably 95% of them say I'm going to graduate school and I'm going to statistics. So most of the students that I take are not necessarily mathematicians or statisticians. They come from engineering, they come from physics, they come from biology, some from political sciences even. And at the end, they get transformed by the experience. And I really don't think that, I cannot take full credit for that. I think it is to their own credit that they, they get interested in doing this type of work. The experience energizes them, and they decide that that's what's best for them. So I think the REUs play a very important role. I think it's a great mechanism also for recruiting students for our own departments. Many of them that have come to RUSI's have stayed on or have applied later on to our PhD program. A couple of them have graduated this semester. They are going, Stephanie Hicks is going to the Dana-Farber Women's Hospital in Boston. And so I think that the REUs are having an impact. One of the issues that I was part of the committee of visitors for DMS this past February, and one of the issues that came up during the COV was that the REUs were not being assessed very carefully. And so I think one of the recommendations of the COV is that that DMS needs to, or this was CMS, I suppose it's true for NSF in general, that they need to assess the impact of the REUs. I think that there needs to be a healthy debate about how to best assess REUs. If one is going to measure them or through metrics such as the number of published papers in professional journals, that may not be the best way of doing this, because as I said, students come in for 7 weeks, and it's going to be sort of difficult to produce publications for professional journals. It could be, say, the number of students that go on to graduate school, or maybe students participating in professional conferences, giving talks, and so on. I don't know, but I think that there needs to be a debate about this. Finally, one issue I think that sort of perhaps serves as a deterrent to more faculty participating in REU activities is the funding that comes from NSF. I think the guidelines have changed within the last year regarding, for example, indirect costs. Indirect costs used to be 25% of the participant stipends. Now that has been removed, and now universities can charge full overhead, but only on non-participant costs. So the change is in the right direction. I don't think that's really going to have a lot of impact on how much overhead institutions get. And of course, departments are concerned about research expenditures and things of that sort. And chairs sometimes don't look favorably on these REU programs precisely because they're not producing the same level of overhead as regular proposals. The rules have changed now. I think the suggested budget is $1,200 per week per student, total including overhead costs. And even though that's a change in the right direction, I still think that leaves very little money, little funds for to support faculty time. So I think with the for example, a typical REU with 12 students, $144,000, that probably leaves enough money for maybe 3/4 of a month of one faculty member, one graduate student, and maybe some secretarial support. So if one wanted to entice colleagues to participate in this REU, well, they have to pretty much do it for free. And so I think this is a discussion that the NSF has to have. I know that the guidelines say that it is specific to the division, so the average is one month of support per faculty, or one faculty rather. And I think it's an important aspect of these programs. I think they're wonderful. I think they work beautifully. It has helped me recruit a lot of underrepresented minorities to the professional careers in the mathematical sciences. So I think that this is well worth fighting for, and I think NSF needs to understand that they need to put more money into supporting faculty so that these programs can have a much larger impact on the statistical and mathematical landscape. So I'll stop now.
Thank you. I agree that the new rules on overhead have been a problem. I am a department chair, right? And and we submitted a renewal proposal for our REU in applied mathematics at Nebraska this year, and had a big panic when we realized the rules had changed. And luckily our sponsored programs office stepped in and helped us out this time, but I don't know how that'll work the next time that we have to do a proposal. So it is indeed a big issue. The next issue that we were going to talk about was Bob Mengenson. We had asked him to join us and talk about American Indians in mathematics and the fact that there just really aren't very many at all. So what I'm going to do, if I can do it, is do a screen share so that you can see Bob. Do we see Bob now? Bill's phone is ringing. And I'm going to read some comments that Bob sent for me to read. So he says, "I'm sorry I cannot be with you today, but I appreciate your interest in the issues surrounding the mathematical education of American Indians. The organizers sent me an excellent list of suggestions for points I might address. I've pruned down the list to a few on which I'd particularly like to focus. The first question is, how do we increase the mathematical preparedness of Native American students so that they can fully participate in STEM fields? Bill might not remember this, nor do I recall the setting, but in some event that he and I once attended, he hit the nail right on the head by taking an author to task for preparing a set of mathematical activities that would certainly teach the mathematics, but weren't really very interesting. Bill made his hands up and shoulders up gesture with a smile that warned that there was a friendly but coming, and said, 'But where's the fun? Why would anyone want to do this if it's not interesting and it's no fun?' Though reservation-based Indian kids in particular have no shortage of exposure to mathematics taught via drill and kill methods, it is very rare that anyone has shown them that mathematics can actually be interesting and fun. But I've recently seen one very promising approach, math circles and math teacher circles, that show both students and their teachers that math can be exciting. Tatiana Shubin, in collaboration with Hugo Rossi and Dave Ockley, have been conducting such circles on the Navajo reservation that have impressed the Navajo Nation so much that they actually adopted her, making her most likely the first Navajo who speaks with an Eastern European accent. The mathematics is quite substantial and quite fun, and I'm confident that some of these kids are getting charged up enough to make their impression on the STEM world. The second question is, how can we increase the partnerships between tribal 2- and 4-year colleges and other 4-year colleges and graduate programs to transition American Indians successfully into these latter schools? And what are the transfer rates? Well, to answer the second question first, the transfer rates for students who have received associate degrees from 2-year tribal colleges into 4-year programs sometimes surprise people. It's 56%. Higher than the general transfer rate for graduates of 2-year community college programs. I don't know what the transfer rates are for students with four-year degrees from tribal colleges into graduate programs at other institutions, but with some graduate programs, particularly in education, coming online right at the tribal colleges, that does provide one path to a graduate degree that tribal college students can and do use. It's been my observation that the best partnerships between tribal and other colleges have come from articulation agreements put together carefully by institutions that both have a sincere desire to see the students succeed and are willing to spend the time to get to know each other. If both institutions are willing to take certain risks, one way to start the investigation of a partnership would be to have one mathematics faculty member from the tribal college swap places with one from the other institution for a single term to teach each other's courses in college algebra or pre-calculus or introductory calculus so that expectations of students and other issues surrounding preparedness and institutional culture are known to people in both institutions. Both faculty participants should seek and welcome lots of mentoring. If both institutions think an articulation partnership is still desirable, then they'll figure out what has to happen to make it work. And the knowledge by the tribal college partner of what is needed for students to make the articulated transition successfully should give them a great handle on what is needed for students to transfer successfully to other institutions. I do have some personal knowledge about tribal college versus majority institution cultural issues, having spent most summers in the 1990s as adjunct faculty at Turtle Mountain Community College. The issues are real and they're important. The final question I'll address is, could intensive programs for faculty at tribal colleges be established to improve teaching at the institutions, designed to increase the mathematical expertise and introduce effective pedagogical techniques? Instead of native faculty traveling far to attend such an institute, would it be more effective to have the program at a closer facility? Well, I've done this, particularly at a 2-week workshop for tribal college faculty in Boulder on teaching mathematics with technology. You can't avoid the problem of extensive travel, though, since the colleges are so spread out. And do recognize that you have to pay the faculty salary and, of course, all expenses to attend the workshops, since they will be giving up important summer income to be there. Okay. So that is the end of Bob Megginson's remarks on American Indians. I'm going to stop the screen share, but apparently that kicks me off about half the time. So I'll turn this over to Bill.
Okay. Oh, there you are.
Oh, look at that! Yay!
So I think Trishette was going to be next.
Yeah, so I think I'm transitioning into the topic of transitioning undergraduates into graduate programs. I think that the largest resource for addressing a limited pool of doctorally trained mathematical sciences nationally is, of course, the currently untapped pool of bachelor's trained talent. And this is especially true for women and underrepresented minorities who are in that pool but who are not being pulled into graduate study quite as often. There are many interconnected challenges and opportunities surrounding attracting students into graduate study and successfully transitioning them from expectations in bachelor's degree programs to that of doctoral programs. I think two of the biggest challenges are probably preparation and retention. I'm going to start with a few ideas about preparation, and then if I have time, say a couple of things about retention. In terms of preparation, I think it's a common complaint, a fairly common complaint of many mathematics departments that our students, our U.S. students, are not well prepared for graduate study. And there could be a number of reasons for this. It might be a growing trend that math majors aren't declaring early on. They're sort of waiting till later in their undergraduate career to declare mathematics as their major. And that means that in the first couple of years they may not have been on the optimal path and taking the optimal courses that will lead them to the strongest preparation for graduate school. So how can we address this? I would like to see an expansion in nationally supported mechanisms that pinpoint or try to address the various levels of preparatory needs that these undergraduates have, because I think their needs vary. For example, there are summer preparatory programs or summer bridge programs for a particular type of student. These are students who know they want to earn graduate degrees, who have already been accepted into good graduate programs, but who have recognized within themselves that there may be one or two areas where some focused review or some intensive effort may benefit them before entering that first year. And so there's some national programs that address students just like this. So the Immerse program that I think Judy can tell us more about at the University of Nebraska is one. The EDGE program, Enhancing Diversity in Graduate Education, is another. And that one is a transition program specifically for women in the mathematical sciences. So those national models would be wonderful to expand on and to see more of. In addition, the universities have developed, some universities have developed their own kinds of summer bridge programs. My home institution, the University of Michigan, has what we call the Summer Institute. So we bring first-year graduate students who've been admitted to departments on campus in for 8 weeks before their first semester. And they take courses, they get a stipend, they do research, they become integrated into their departments, but they also attend a series of seminars and workshops on what the graduate experience is like, what issues most graduate students face, how to do a lot of things that maybe intangible things that graduate students need to know before entering. So I think mechanisms like these, whether national or university specific, both have their place. I personally would love to see an expansion of the national models. I think there's a great need for that. And this addresses one kind of student, though. There are other students who may know that the long-term goal is a graduate degree, but who need more than 6 or 8 weeks in the summer to feel fully prepared to achieve that. So what do we do about those kinds of students? I think there are some options. So there are post-baccalaureate programs. These post-bacs give students some time to take courses and to catch up, if you will, so that they are prepared to enter programs. But in my experience, that's a fairly uncommon route to mathematics graduate degrees. But if we could find national ways of supporting these kinds of programs that would alleviate some of the costs, I think they have the potential to rapidly change the quality and quantity of students who are leaving undergraduate programs and entering graduate programs. It's just, it hasn't been realized yet. Another alternative that I am particularly excited about, which actually casts a slightly broader net than post-bac programs, and are gaining some popularity these days, are programs that use research master's degrees as bridges to the PhD program, or bridges to a PhD. And so this involves some real transitioning in the thinking and the utilization of master's degrees. Typically in mathematics departments, they're either terminal degrees, not designed for students who intend to go on to a PhD, or they're a consolation prize. So a lot of thought has gone into how can we use a master's program, incorporate research into it, and use that to attract and train undergraduates who have degrees in mathematical sciences to be prepared for earning PhDs. So at the University of Michigan, we have NSF funding for 4 such research bridge master's programs. One of them is in applied and interdisciplinary mathematics, and it allows students to have 2 years of full funding, protected time to explore research avenues in mathematical sciences, take graduate courses, and really be prepared to go into top PhD programs when they're finished. I think I've probably used my 5 minutes, but I hope I've addressed some of the issues around how can we prepare students better and different kinds of students better. And to summarize that, I really think it's important that we have nationally supported mechanisms that address these different levels of needs that these students have. There are different kinds of undergraduates coming out, and we have to address the different levels of preparation that they have so that they can be successful. So I think I'll stop there and let you.
Thank you, Tricia. I will, in fact, add a couple of things to that, as Tricia had indicated that I might. So at the University of Nebraska, we have been quite successful with our graduate program, in particular as it relates to women earning PhDs. We won a presidential award back in the late 1990s for that work. One of the things we started